Right now at Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory, save 50 to 70% off everything in stores and online. That's right, 50 to 70% off everything. Celebrate the 4th with dresses from $19.99 at Banana Republic Factory. And at Gap Factory stores, tees start at $4.99. Plus, save an extra 40% off clearance. Sale ends Tuesday. Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store or shop us online.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, this is Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to No BS Hiring Advice. It's a show that I do on Blog Talk Radio that I simulcast as a YouTube hangout. So whichever way you're watching or listening to the show, I hope you find value from it. Now, the long and the short of it is I do this show because I believe that hiring people is often far more difficult, far more painful, and far more complicated than it needs to be, because organizations establish systems that are dysfunctional, that interfere with the process that they claim is so important to them, which is hiring, staffing, finding the right talent for their organization. So what I try to do is point out some of the issues that exist with organizations and how to go about replacing them, doing things a little bit differently, perhaps even going so far as to get buy-in. So it's not top-down dictatorship changes, but working within that institution to affect change so that hiring can be done much more easily, with a lot less pain, take a lot less time, and be far more effective so that you get your first choice of every individual that you try and hire. Now, today's show is brought to you by two sponsors. The first one is Audible. Audible is a service where you can download audiobooks or order audiobooks. And if you go to audibletrial.com/thebiggamehunter, you can take out a trial of the service, and by using that link, you'll be able to download a free audiobook. And I know you like audio because you listen to this podcast and my others. And my other sponsor is consultingassignments.com. Consultingassignments.com is a site where you can find and fill consulting assignments, full-time consulting positions, temp to perm, and contract to hire opportunities anywhere in the world completely free. Posting jobs and resumes is free. Searching jobs and resumes is also free, as is the ability to contact one another. The only thing the site charges for is if you're going to feature a job or a resume, it's $10 for 30 days. And if you're going to feature more than one position, the price goes down from there, and they give you 45 days. So again, that site is consultingassignments.com. Now, today's show is really about improving the interplay between hiring managers, corporate HR, and candidates. Because, frankly, I've had way too many experiences where there are breakdowns not attributable to HR. So, no, this is not a criticize HR show today. HR is often the shall we say, the stepchild in the recruiting process, providing a buffer for bad hiring manager behavior. And the economy's gotten strong again. If you're looking for skilled talent, this is what the unemployment numbers won't tell you. And that is unemployment for an individual with a college degree in any kind of job is under 3%. So if you're in white-collar labor markets trying to hire that kind of talent, doesn't matter what it is. It can be accountants, technology professionals, engineers, financial services people, anything for which you've determined a college degree is a part of the requirements, under 3%. Now, you can sit there and go, I don't really care. I just want to hire the right people. What about if the right person walks in your door? And you're delaying your process because of bad hiring manager behavior, because they're unable to make a decision or to communicate their decision when they've made one. Often the impact, especially in these days of social media, is people complaining online, talking about your organization, impacting your ability to attract talent. Now, I had a candidate I was speaking with, a good fit for a client of mine in New Jersey, talking with him about a C-level position. He gets on the web, starts noticing some of the things said about the firm, including their interview process. He sends me a message back and goes, "Thanks, but no thanks. I don't need to go through this nonsense. I like organizations that treat people with respect, and this apparently isn't the case here." Messages are getting out about bad behavior. And since I know HR is very willing to say no if a rejection is there, I attribute much of this to hiring managers who are so busy or just don't care because they're being buffered by HR or people like me who function as third-party recruiters that, they're just slow to respond. So when all is said and done, if you're finding people who are qualified, there's no such thing as the perfect applicant. There's always flaws in everyone. But we're not going to go into that for this show. I just want to talk with you about a methodology that's going to improve the selection process, improve the communication process, so that hiring managers communicate and get what they want, which is a new employee online more quickly. HR gets what they want, which is recs closed out. And if you're using third-party recruiters, the third-party recruiter is more satisfied because they're getting information in a timely way and perhaps getting placements more quickly with less aggravation. So the method is about using service-level agreements to clarify everything. Now, I'm not going to claim that I'm the answer for this. There was an article on ERE.net today. That's ERE.net, written by Dr. John Sullivan. So I want to give him kudos for this. It's a nice approach and it's an effective approach. So what you want to do is establish service-level agreements between corporate HR and the hiring manager with expectations laid out. So you can do this with third-party recruiters and, obviously with candidates as well. There's the commitment that your organization makes to them that you can put on your website as a way of demonstrating to them that your relationship with job hunters is important too. Because after all, no matter what your business is, these days, if people have a bad experience, not only are they talking about the interview experience on the web, but if you have a product, a service, no matter what it is, they are not going to be your buyer. Years ago, consumer product firm I worked with was just so slow in responding to people. Eventually, there was a website that was created that talked about their bad behavior and said, don't buy their products. Why should we reinforce that this is the kind of way that people should be treated? I don't know how much money it cost them, but that someone went out of their way to do that, got a whole bunch of likes on their site, bad business. So here's what you do. You create service-level agreements that are designed to improve the new hire quality. So basically, what you want to do is improve recruiting results. So you want to lay out the responsibilities of each party to this so that it speeds up the recruiting process from the hiring manager's perspective, that they give an accurate job requirement, a job specification, and if it changes, that they communicate about it. One of the most frustrating things that I have to contend with is receiving feedback on a candidate I've submitted who fits a job requirement, but it's been changed, and the client hasn't told me. So I'm being told that this person is being rejected because they lack such and such. And I'm looking at the specification that's been sent to me, and there's no reference to that. When did that become a requirement of the job? I had this with a client recently. What's listed as a plus suddenly becomes a requirement, and they haven't told me. Very frustrating. And can you imagine, I'm not going to buffer the client from this. I'm just going to tell the candidate, point out, you've been rejected because they changed the requirement. Suddenly this is a requirement. You don't have that. Sorry. And they're annoyed because they've wasted time, effort. The time included preparation, the emotional stuff, because friends and family know about this, and they now have to say, this idiot firm wants this now, and they didn't tell me. Never would have submitted my resume for this role. It also improves hiring costs because basically the time to hire is cut down. So what you do is you lay out the goals of the process and kind of clearly define and prioritize everyone's responsibility. And thus you're able to define the level of service that's being promised so that there's no questions about what's to be determined. The whys of why things are going to be done this way are laid out. You define the role of each of these parties and what they're going to do. You ask hiring managers to provide not just a specification, but clearly how they're going to evaluate and assess people for these specifications so that everyone is a part of this. And if they change how they're going to evaluate, that's communicated as well. You specify the deliverables. When are you going to get results for this person? And the steps each party is going to take. Deadlines are established. Potential risks are defined. Who's paying for everything? What is unacceptable? So, for example, in the case of the hiring manager, if there's a 1-week delay in communicating feedback after an interview, that's unacceptable. I had a situation recently where a person interviewed for a job in Houston 5 weeks after the person's walked in the door for their sole interview with the hiring authority. We finally learned that they're interested and he's a finalist. Huh? And, of course, in 5 weeks' time, this A performer has 3 other opportunities. What do you expect is going to happen? Everyone needs to communicate. What are the measures by which success is going to be evaluated, short-term and long-term? How is this person going to be evaluated once they're on board? What's the performance data for each party that's going to evaluate the success? You define the terms of the agreement. So when all is said and done, it's very important for your organization to think of recruiting as being a service, and that hiring managers need to treat you in corporate HR as a part of their process, trying to provide service to them, and they have responsibilities to you. I'm collateral on this. Corporate HR is the biggest beneficiary of this because you're evaluated and you're measured based upon the outcomes that you deliver. And if the real problem is the hiring manager because they're not telling you what's needed, they're not communicating what's thought of candidates in a timely way, so that you, and let's take me out of the equation again, if you've recruited this person and found this individual and suddenly there's delays, people lose interest and your firm isn't going to get them. So then you're back to the well again, and the hiring manager is basically shrug their shoulders and say, hey, they haven't got me anyone I want to hire. That's not the case. You have, and the other party's at fault. So that's my suggestion for this show. Read the original article at ERE.net. It's entitled Increase Hiring Manager Performance and Compliance with Service Level Agreements by Dr. John Sullivan. So I hope you found this show helpful. I also want to encourage you, come over to my website, which is thebiggamehunter.us, and go explore it. There's a lot of content there to help you make more effective staffing decisions. In addition, if your firm is trying to hire someone, reach out to me. Be happy to help you. Just email me at jeffaltman@thebiggamehunter.us. Let's set up a time to speak. I'd love to help your firm staff positions anywhere in the U.S. and Canada. Plus, I have affiliates throughout the world who might be able to help with overseas requirements. So again, Jeff Altman at thebiggamehunter.us. Let's set up a time to speak. Finally, if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. The address is linkedin.com/IN/TheBigGameHunter. I accept connection requests from people worldwide, except if you're in a country known for scams or spam, or if you're a third-party recruiter. Hope you enjoyed the show. Take care. Bye-bye.
Right now at Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory, save 50 to 70% off everything in stores and online. That's right, 50 to 70% off everything. Celebrate the 4th with dresses from $19.99 at Banana Republic Factory. And at Gap Factory stores, tees start at $4.99. Plus, save an extra 40% off clearance. Sale ends Tuesday. Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store, or shop us online. Right now at Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory, save 50 to 70% off everything in stores and online. That's right, 50 to 70% off everything. Celebrate the 4th with dresses from $19.99 at Banana Republic Factory. And at Gap Factory stores, tees start at $4.99. Plus, save an extra 40% off clearance. Sale ends Tuesday. Search our store locator for your nearest Gap Factory and Banana Republic Factory store, or shop us online.